Hello, everyone. My name is Aya Murray, and I'm an associate professor at Meiji University, a private university in central Japan. Today, I would like to share with you a model I'm currently developing of a framed task-based approach to language teaching. This is the first half of a two-part research project that came out of my doctorate research, which I will discuss shortly. The first part of this project began with searching for and interviewing language teachers who use a drama and education approach called process drama in order to learn of their real-world practices. The goal was to take these practices and look for trends and use these experiences as inspiration to create a modified model of process drama, which I am calling framed task-based language teaching. The second half of this project will be implemented this year with a study that hopes to test out the model, both in terms of its effectiveness in aiding new language acquisition and how students and teachers perceive the approach. So, as I mentioned, this project came out of my doctorate research, which focused on the lived experiences of process drama practitioners in Japan. I was curious why this approach, which seemed well suited to addressing some language teaching issues in Japan, was not more well known or more utilized. The main issues that I uncovered when I asked the practitioners about their experiences of sharing process drama with other teachers was firstly with the word drama. When teachers hear this word, immediately they associate process drama with performing in front of an audience, theater, acting, playing around, essentially something that's very specialized or potentially frivolous. So many people are put off by this branding. And of course, if you wanted to learn how to use process drama, there were some hurdles. While there are some books and publications of studies in process drama as a language teaching approach, there have been very few clear and accessible examples or textbooks that help a new teacher get started in process drama. So my study showed that people either were exposed to process drama through learning from a practitioner overseas, or they were passionate and creative enough to do a deep dive and piece together ideas in order to incorporate process drama into their teaching. So not everyone would be that passionate potentially, or take the time to do that deep dive. Many teachers also, and rightfully so, have concerns about whether process drama is effective for lower level or beginner students. We are teaching a new language, and yet the current models do not really focus on explicit language teaching, but rather focus on content teaching. So they're more CLIL-based, which is also very valid. However, the current model of PD also encourages teachers not to do any correction of grammar or very little correction of grammar or language use because they're afraid that it demotivates students from participating in activities and makes them self-conscious. And this is understandable, as process drama does ask students to take some risks, but teachers are often concerned with how and where to help students to improve their language ability. So these are some of the issues that I've encountered with the current model of process drama as a language teaching approach. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Some of you may be familiar with process drama, but for those of you that are not, I want to quickly introduce what PD is. It was developed by several drama and education practitioners, the most famous being Dorothy Heathcote in the UK. Teachers and students explore a theme together in order to deepen the students' understanding of a theme in a personal and active fashion, both in role and out of role. And what is one of the unique features is that the teacher also participates in the activities and helps students while in character. So the teacher is also in role. When teachers and students are in role, the focus is on experiencing, not performing. While some classmates or the teacher may observe what students are doing, this is only for a given purpose and not to passively watch a performance. Students and teachers do not perform for an outside audience. Essentially, the goal is to create experiential learning inside the classroom. A typical PD has 3 phases. Phase 1, the initial phase, is where the teacher introduces the theme of the process drama. This can be done with the teacher in role, for example, playing a CEO at a press conference disclosing an issue, or can be done out of role using anything from an article, a story, a painting, to help the students to believe in. This means to bring the students into the fictional world that will be used to explore the theme. It's basically to engage the students mentally and emotionally with the subject material. Once the students are engaged, if preparation is needed, the teacher can give instructions for preparation for the experiential activities. Alternatively, teacher and students can decide together how to explore the theme together, or they can engage in warm-up activities that will help the students prepare for the next phase, which is the experiential phase. This is the main part of the process drama. Teacher and students can do many different kinds of activities like create tableaus, which are like freeze frame living pictures, or they can use these freeze frame pictures to expand into a spontaneous improvised scene, or do some hot seating, which is where students enroll or interviewed about their lives or the topic related to the theme. Or they could do something like write a letter, create a presentation, enroll. There is great flexibility in this phase. Whatever activities the teacher and the students, if you take more improvised approaches with this, feels is most suitable. So whatever activities teachers think are most suitable, or the teacher and the students together decide are most suitable. They also do not need to be dramatic. They can be activities that teachers and students are familiar with, just in character and role. Okay, so now the final phase, reflection phase. This can be done in role or out of role, and it can be in class or assigned for homework. There's also, again, great flexibility in what the teachers can choose. Teachers can also choose to do a mini repeated cycle of experiential activity followed by reflection before moving on to doing another experiential activity and then another reflection. So like these mini cycles of experiential and reflection phases. Typical reflection activities include things like discussions or summarizations or in-role writing. One of the activities I like to use is in-role journaling that they do for homework. They write a journal entry as their character. Okay, so I think it is easy to see that there are some similarities to task-based language teaching. Both have a three-phase approach, and both came out of a desire to make learning more directly purposeful. Right? Student desire to learn and use language is encouraged through the giving of tasks, right? Asking the students to do tasks. However, the key difference is the in-role aspect and the use of dramatic tension and emotion to engage students in their learning. The learning is connected to the emotional experiences the students have during the process drama. Some task-based teaching activities ask students to take on a fictional situation. However, I feel that process drama takes this even further by taking care to develop the roles. The key point here is the emotional drive. So, why is process drama worth exploring? Teaching within the Japanese university context, which I think some of you may be teaching in, we get students at a point in their English learning where many are experiencing burnout. Though this is changing somewhat, many students spend years just studying English for exams. In my doctorate research, many teachers commented on the fact that their students were almost allergic to grammar-focused or skill-focused teaching and wanted communication-based classes, though many were shy and had difficulty in participating in those classes. In Japan, save a few of the larger cities, it is rare that the students actually need English daily, and so there are limited opportunities to speak English outside of the classroom. Within the classroom, students predominantly interact with students as students and with teachers as students. So this means that they're not able to explore different power dynamics within the class. So as mentioned, students also want to speak, but many lack confidence. So how does process drama connect to these issues? Process drama focuses on creating dramatic tension and an emotional motivation to do tasks, and drama, while not frivolous, is often playful and enjoyable. Students directly connect the learning to concrete goals. Because students are taking on roles, they can explore a wider range of relationships and power dynamics than other classroom interactions. Most importantly, roles can allow students to experience the activities as themselves and in role, known as dual effect. The character creates a buffer, a mask that allows the students more safety and freedom to express themselves in a way they may not feel comfortable doing usually. Much of the research, perhaps contrary to what is expected, shows that process drama is highly beneficial to shy or introverted students. Process drama as a language teaching model is ideal primarily for CLIL classes, perhaps even some communication-focused classes, because it emphasizes motivating students to use the language they already have and perhaps building on it somewhat. It's used for a variety of ages, but often for higher level courses. This is because the developers of the model discourage focus on explicit language teaching or language correction, save maybe for a few language items during the preparation phase or, some correction during the reflection phase if absolutely necessary. Also, ideally, process dramas are created by the students. So the students take charge of the direction the drama takes. Teachers should strive to follow where the students' interests lie to improvise activities and assignments spontaneously. Process drama as an approach is very nebulous, and so many practitioners come to it through apprenticeship, through learning from observing and participating and teaching with more experienced practitioners. As process drama evolves rather spontaneously, teachers must be prepared to prepare as they go. It's truly a wonderful approach, but it's very challenging, especially if you don't have any experienced practitioners nearby, such as in my context. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to create a more structured, simplified approach that would hopefully retain most of the benefits of process drama, but be useful also to teach lower level students and, help teachers who want to try it out for the first time. So my goal was to solidify this type of simplified approach that could be used in a wider range of classes with a wider range of students. I will use the term framed task-based language teaching for this model. I think actually some other colleagues in Japan are also starting to use this title, or they might be using simulated task-based learning or task-based teaching, as we've been tossing these terms around as potential names for a rebranding of process drama. I wanted to create this model based on real practices of language teachers around the world who use process drama. Specifically, I wanted to know how they teach new language items and how they address language correction. As a potential model, I had looked at Marsh's PD model, which included some language teaching and language correction as a mid-episode phase during the experiential phase. I was curious to see if other practitioners used this approach, as I personally shy away from doing any corrections during the experiential phase, as I feel like it demotivates students or makes them feel too self-conscious. However, the mid-episode introduction of language could help the students to make the connection to the task stronger. So yes, as part of my research, I was interested to see what others thought of this approach. I asked the practitioners to take me through some of their most typical process dramas. Particularly, I asked them how and when they introduced new language, and if and how and when they corrected their students' language. I asked them what they thought of language correction and of explicit language, like teaching of new language items, whether it be grammar or vocabulary items. One of the challenges I faced during this research was actually finding enough participants. Ultimately, however, I was able to interview about 12 practitioners through snowball sampling. There aren't a lot of practitioners of process drama as a language teaching approach overall. But the participants were predominantly in Europe, and some were language teachers, and then some were drama background people who eventually became language teachers. From their practices and their ideas, I propose to you now 2 potential models. In Model 1 of the framed task-based language teaching approach, the language needed is taught prior and separate to the drama cycle. This was actually the preferred method for about a third of the interviewees. The drama cycle would be the review and the reinforcement of the language taught in a more traditional lesson. The drama cycle follows the process drama approach. However, the teacher would specifically curate the activities to aid in reinforcing the language learned. Any language reflection or correction would be at the final reflection phase. And when teachers focus on language correction, it is important that they just pick up the main or the most pertinent issues, so don't get too bogged down with correction, and try to frame the corrections as a way to improve expressing the intentions of the role of the character. Model 2 incorporates the language learning into the preparation phase. The teacher first focuses on introducing the dramatic aspects and the tasks or goals of the experiential phase. The students now engaged will then prepare by learning some language needed to achieve the set tasks and goals. This is followed by the experiential and reflection phases in the same fashion as Model 1. I think that both models have their pros and cons. I feel Model 1 may run the risk of students not understanding the connection between the language-focused lesson prior to the drama cycle. But on the other hand, if the language teaching portion is included after the believe in phase, students may lose the momentum and emotional connection to the drama. As for Marsh's mid-episode phase, all of the participants were pretty adamant that while some language correction in terms of clarifying intentions could occur in a mini reflection phase, this type of explicit teaching in the middle of the experiential phase would be detrimental to the emotional and dramatic flow. Rather, a reflection on the language after the experiential phase and perhaps a review in a separate lesson to reinforce was preferred. Okay, so here is an example of a Model 2 lesson. I'm scheduled this year to begin testing out one or potentially both of these models in order to test their effectiveness in terms of their ability to aid students in retaining new language items. Initially, the focus will be on vocabulary items. I will also be exploring student perceptions of the approach and hopefully in the future, teacher perceptions as well. If anyone is interested in trying out this approach, please contact me. Thank you so much for your kind attention, and I hope this was interesting for you. Thank you.